North Carolina lawmakers in both houses have introduced bills that would place restrictions on transgender athletes.
Right now, the State High School Athletic Association allows teens who identify as transgender to play sports based on their gender identification, but this legislation would change that. Education reporter Mary Calkins is live this morning. She joins us now to explain. Mary?
Alex, both of these bills have dozens of Republican sponsors who want North Carolina to join at least 20 other states to ban transgender students from sports based on gender identity. Now, the Senate bill says that sports teams must be designated as male, men, or boys, female, women, or girls, or co-ed mixed. It goes on to say that once a sport is designated for a specific gender, it won't be open to students of the opposite gender, and that gender is defined as a person's reproductive biology and genetics at birth. Republicans have scheduled a news conference today to discuss the bill. The head of the High School Sports Association told WRAL in Raleigh only about 15 transgender students are participating in high school sports statewide. Now, Alex, Mary, earlier you mentioned the current rules that allow transgender students to participate. Now, this, of course, will be a lengthy process, but it's one the policy says would allow competition, rather, in a safe environment free of discrimination. Of course, we will be keeping tabs on these bills and let you know how they progress. Reporting live in Charlotte, Mary Calkins, WBTV, on your side.